Michael Scott, Scotty Man Photo, here at Twin Falls near Jasper, Arkansas. As you can see though, it's triple falls. I guess depending on the weather, it's sometimes double, sometimes triple. But fortunately for me, I get to catch the triple falls. There's a little wind here, so but I'm going to try to capture this with minimal motion blur in the leaves. But no, it's beautiful here, just amazing. Short hike, about a quarter mile, but the road down was downhill, steep all the way. Pretty arduous trip getting down. I think it's going to be kind of rough getting out. Fortunately, there's not a lot of mud, so should get out with no problem. But really beautiful here. Boy Scout camp nearby, so just a nice area. Well, anyway, I'm gonna scour around. I was looking at a couple different compositions. I'm thinking about one here with kind of the trees framing up the falls, and then sort of the leaves framing up the falls rather. But then there's maybe down at the base and using the kind of the rocks and the clear water as a foreground. So I might shoot a couple of images here. We'll see. Well, if you watched last week's video, this is part 4 of an Arkansas series videos, mostly waterfalls. Matter of fact, I'll post a link to last week's video right here. And last week I was actually, well, I say last week, but it was actually yesterday for me. But I was actually going to Twin Falls, another Twin Falls. I know, I guess there's many Twin Falls around here. So, but anyway, it was quite the hike to get there. All in all, I think I hiked about 8 miles that day. So, yeah. Twin Falls, Richland Falls, beautiful area, beautiful. So, all right, I'm gonna get started here. I'm pretty happy with the composition. There's occasional gusts of wind. I'm going to try to time it. My shutter speed is about 3/4 of a second. That's enough to really give me the motion in the water that I want. And enough to freeze the leaves if I can get a brief pause in this gust of wind. I think I can get the image. I really like the composition. I think the foreground, the rock bed is nice, provides a nice foreground. And I like the falls. They're beautiful, what can I say? I like the framing too. And even though the falls are centered in the image, I think when you frame an image using trees or branches, I think it's okay to center your image in a frame. A lot of this is subjective. It depends on the viewer, you know, and what the viewer finds aesthetically pleasing. So, but really and truly, it really depends on you. And you know, when it comes to these images, if I'm happy with it, that's what really counts. Another tip I'd share with you is, I talked about hyperfocal distance before, and I'm shooting this at about 34 millimeters at f11. So you can kind of see here that the closest object in the scene is probably about 20 feet, but regardless, you can see shooting at the hyperfocal distance about 12 feet gives you everything from 5 to infinity. I mean, that's great. Hyperfocal distance is okay, but I'm really focusing on the background. I want the falls and the rocks in the background to be sharp no matter what. So that's my focus point. In doing that, you know, if I really focus out there, and that's probably about 150, maybe 200 feet, you'll see that it doesn't change much. But that basically gives me everything from 10 feet to infinity within acceptably sharp. Now you could stack, but I prefer not to, especially when I've got motion blur. But nevertheless, the trees are 15, 20 feet away, so that should provide acceptable sharpness even when printing large. And truly acceptable sharpness, I think I could put this on a 30-inch image on the wall, and you might see a little motion blur in the leaves, but I think everything will be mostly sharp, everything that's still anyway. Also, you can take a lot of the hyperfocal distance and the guesswork out of this. You know, in digital photography, in film you had to worry about it a lot more, but in digital photography, you can just zoom in on your LCD and look at the leaves, and if they're sharp, well, great. I used a polarizer on this, although I think you can get away without a polarizer. The polarizer just takes the glare off of the water, and more importantly, the wet rocks behind it. So, and it allows you to kind of see more of the foreground, because you can kind of pierce, you can look through the water, and it kind of brings out the foreground more. And so that's why I'm using the circular polarizer. And if I haven't mentioned this before, I'll mention that now. That is one kit item, I think, that above any filter, that's absolutely essential, is a circular polarizer. Just as a comparison, I took two images, one with the polarizer on and one with the polarizer off. And you can see such an amazing difference in the leaves, the reflections off the leaves, off of the background, the rock in the background, off of the water, off of the foreground, everything. It just changes the whole image and provides a much deeper color and white point and black point. It's just much more defined. And you could probably do a little something with that in post, but not like you can with a circular polarizer. There's no replacement for that. You just see the amazing difference. The way a circular polarizer works is kind of using the finger rule here. And you can take your thumb and point at the direction of the light, and then take your finger. So if the sun were above me, I would point at the sun with my thumb, and then I can pivot with my finger, and wherever my finger points is where I'm going to get the maximum polarization. So that really helps you to determine if a polarizer is going to help you or not before you pull it out of your bag. Another tip I would give you is, many people run around with polarized sunglasses. You can use the sunglasses as the same tool without having to pull out your circular polarizer. Just by putting them on your head, just kind of tilt your head, you can see the effect that the polarization has on your image. So I use that quite often, actually. I had a couple of images lined up for today, a couple of locations lined up, I should say. One was here at Triple Falls, and the other one was Lyle Falls. I think it's within 30 minutes, 25, 30 minutes of each other. Of course, these roads are pretty rough, Arkansas. But anyway, I think I'm gonna go and check that out and see what kind of image I can line up there. And so my plan is kind of going according to plan. I've had some modifications. There was a covered bridge that I was thinking about shooting this morning, and I opted to come here instead first. And I'm glad I did. I really like the image. So, of course, I'll be happy to get back into post and confirm what I think, which is that I like the image. So, but you never know. You just notice things in post-processing that you don't notice out here, despite your best efforts. That's a short little hike to Lyle Falls. Not sure what to expect here. Seen a couple images of it. And yeah, it might be interesting. Well, it seems like I've been here before, but I don't think so. Yeah, this upper level does not look too good. Doesn't look like I'm gonna have much water flow. This might be a big disappointment, but nothing ventured, nothing gained. A couple different trails here. You know, GPS says go straight. That's what I'm gonna do. Maybe that other trail leads down to the very bottom. Yeah, I think this is it from images I've seen, but kind of seen it down at the lower level. Oh, maybe I have to go on down. Yeah, apparently I have to go on down. Let's judge that one. Apparently there's an upper level and a lower level. And maybe with more water it might be an interesting image, but I don't see an image in it really. I mean, you could zoom in on something and you know, maybe one section of the falls, kind of get minimalistic with a long lens, but that's not really what I was trying to do. I wanted to capture the waterfalls kind of in their splendor, you know, in their and that means probably going wider. So, well, maybe I'll venture down to the bottom and take a look at it. I'm sure it's not going to be anything spectacular based on the water flow. Well, no, it goes down. I don't know if I want to do it though. And based on what I'm seeing, water flow, it's just not worth the effort. So, yeah, probably need a rope to climb out of there too. It's kind of muddy, so yeah, pretty steep drop. Yep. So from what I can tell, it doesn't look like I'm going to be going down here. It doesn't look like anything much. So you can kind of see it over there. Maybe if it was gushing water, I'd probably do it then, but not worth it. Out. Yeah, I was crawling out. I just reached around there. I touched it. I know I did. Hopefully I don't have an allergic reaction. But that is poison ivy. You can tell by the 3 leaves and kind of the furry vine are the classic signs of poison ivy. Careful not to. When you're around this much vegetation, it's only a matter of time. You expose yourself to poison ivy, poison oak. Just make sure I don't touch my face. Get back to the vehicle and wash my hands. I guess I could wash them right here. Well, I'm going to get out of here. Going to head to the Ozark Cafe. It's Sunday. I don't know if they're open, so if they're not, they're not. But if they are, I'd like to stop in. It's been a couple years since I've been in there. It's just little country cafes that I really enjoy. So, yeah.
Well, this is going to conclude this trip to the Ozark. I'm sure I'll be back in the fall, or maybe maybe I'll be back next spring, capture some more waterfalls, but who knows. But anyway, I guess that's it. If you're watching this video, you're watching part 4, or at least what I intended to be a 4-part video of the Ozarks. It's just an amazing place up here. I tell you, if you haven't been, you really should consider making a trip up here. If you like the outdoors, there's anything and everything you want to do, including kayaking and canoeing and hiking, climb, whatever, you name it, it's out there. So amazing place. But yeah, well, anyway, I guess I'm gonna go ahead and call it. So if you liked the video, make sure you hit the like button, consider subscribing, and drop me a comment. Let me know what you thought. And as always, if I don't see you down the road, maybe I'll see you on the trail.